First contact with Joshua Put.
Hello there, Earthlings. How you doing today? Welcome back to First Contact Radio. Glad you could be here today. Today it is the 10th day of November 2017. It is the 21st day of Cheshvan in the year 5778. Our astrological energy is the same as it was yesterday, with our sun sign in Scorpio, water sign, progressed to the 18th degree within the sign, so more than halfway past the halfway point here, and our moon sign is in Leo, a fire sign. So just take a little closer look at what these represent here. This is our sun sign, Scorpio, a water sign. It's a water sign dealing with things that are buried deep, that rise to the surface, that need to be dealt with. And sometimes things are buried deep. When they rise to the surface, they could be a bit troublesome in our lives because we made such efforts to bury them in the first place, and here they are coming back up. And usually they're things that we buried that were emotions we didn't want to deal with, feelings that we had we didn't like, so we just pushed them down further and further. Well, ultimately, we've all got to deal with it. We've all got to get to the foundation of things within ourselves if we're going to grow as beings. And so we have this, if you imagine, what I'm imagining is like two layers. You got one layer up here, like the above surface of energy. In this case, it's water, like a lake or an ocean. And underneath it, you have fire, the unconscious, which is moving every 2 days. Okay, so we've got 30 days where we're dealing with emotions, and every 2 days, as we look at the wheel here, we shift. And we can see the shift going on every 2 days. The moon sign shifts forward a little bit. So the way in which this energy here of Scorpio is processed is dependent in many ways on how the moon is as it is moving through, because it actually colors and influences the way this is affected. And interestingly enough, yesterday I told you we had the fire and the water. The fire was the conscious mind, the outer surface, the fire coming from underneath the unconscious mind. Yesterday, one of the stories was about Antarctica, a frozen lake, and volcano fire coming up through the water, which is melting the water in some areas, which are creating these lakes. So we had a perfect example there of fire coming out of the water. Another example could be the water could be our cool feelings, our emotions, and then a fiery element coming through that maybe we blast out at somebody emotionally or angrily because our emotional buttons have been pushed. Could be all sorts of things like that, but things to be aware of. Okay? This is good. This is our strength when we allow it to be, but if we allow this lion just to go and roar and charge without any conviction, it's going to go and it's going to hurt people. It's going to hurt people, and it's going to cause problems that aren't necessary. So what has to happen is the lion needs to be tamed by our imagination. We need to find creative ways to make this energy useful so that we don't destroy the things in our lives. Because we could very easily go on a rampage and destroy everything in our lives just because we don't know how to control our emotions. And then we really go through a death-like process, which is an emotional experience, because our emotions are dying, our feelings are dying, things that we were ignoring are dying, but in the process we're being transformed. Okay, so it's very important on a daily basis that we do consider the energies we're dealing with, because regardless of what the circumstances or the various stories you hear me tell you, they're still only bits and pieces of what's going on in the world. There's stories out in the world, but those stories affect each and every individual individually. And it's important also that as we are looking out in the world, we learn that we have to work together in teams. We learn not to be selfish, because we can be very selfish at times, take our energy and go so inside of ourselves where we're very introverted on who and what we're about, and we forget about what everyone else's experience is out in the world. And sometimes we get caught up in ourselves so much that we take for granted And therein lies problems because we start stepping on people that we shouldn't be stepping on, people who have been there for us all along the way. And every day we run into these challenges, and every day we run into opportunities to move past this. This isn't something affecting one person or two people. This is all of us. We're all in this together. And this is something we're all going through. And if we take the time to understand the energies we're dealing with and understand that these are energies that are affecting us in certain ways, and that we can actually, by being aware of these energies, be more in control of how we are affected, it makes a big difference in our lives and how the lives of others around us will be affected as well. So that's our energy for today that we're dealing with. Let's check out some of these stories now. First one that we've been hearing for such a long time is about Clinton, GPS fusion, and the Russians, the Russians, the Russians. Well, it wasn't the Russians. It wasn't the Russians at all. As a matter of fact, let me go back to this graphic here because this graphic is quite interesting. Here's Melania out in China, and look what's back here, a panda. Okay, look what's back there, a panda. Anybody know where the panda comes from, what the panda represents in this regard? Let me let you in on a little clue in case you aren't certain of this. His name was Seth Rich. Materials associated with Seth Rich have images of pandas. They mention panda. It's a figure around there that has been understood, and when we see different signs and pictures like this, sometimes people think, is this a sign? Well, maybe it is. Maybe it is a positive sign that Seth Rich is going to get his justice. We hear Donna Brazil talking about him. Maybe she knows more than she is saying thus far. It certainly seems as that is the case. But anyway, Seth Rich was the one who leaked this information out. It wasn't the Russians. It wasn't hacked. It was leaked. The Fusion GPS dossier, which was created, was a fake, a fraud. It was created and paid for by Hillary Clinton's campaign, the DNC, in order to smear Donald Trump. Now, yes, before that, the Republicans had done some opposition research trying to find out about Donald Trump, but then they stopped doing that, and then the DNC picked it up and continued on. The fake dossier was created. The DNC lawyer, Mark Elias, was involved, who not only hired company CrowdStrike that said that they had been hacked and refused to turn over the servers because we needed to take their word for it, but they also brought in GPS Fusion, which then created this fake dossier, and you brought in Mr. Christopher Steele to help push this thing forward. And of course, in America, you got a guy who's a known traitor named John McCain who had no problem going and passing this information along. Now that you're caught up a little bit, here's where the story gets a little bit weird and twisted, because we know about this Russian lawyer, Veselnitskaya, who came to America to meet with Donald Trump Jr. Well, what you're going to see in these two stories here, it was a complete setup, because the information that she was going to be providing to Donald Trump Jr. was information from the GPS fake dossier. So not only was she a plant, but she was a plant that was going to be giving him fake information. Fake information. That's about as fake as you can get. Confirmed Trump Tower Russia meet was a Clinton Fusion GPS setup. And there she is, old Crooked Hillary herself. But guess what? 1 year ago, Hillary was not named president-elect, so she can keep that look for a while. All roads in this scandal begin and end with Fusion GPS. Fusion GPS created the Trump dossier for the Clintons and then passed the material on to the FBI. The Trump Tower meeting also had Fusion GPS dirty little fingerprints all over it, as we previously learned. But hours before the Trump meeting on June 9, 2016, Fusion co-founder and ex-Wall Street Journal reporter Glenn Simpson was with Veselnitskaya in the Manhattan federal courtroom, the confidential source told Fox News. Court records reviewed by Fox News email correspondence and published reports corroborate the pair's presence together. The source told Fox News that they were together after the Trump Tower meeting. And the compromised material that Veselnitskaya was offering Team Trump, you'll never guess where it came from. The sources told Reuters that the negative information that the Russian lawyer Natalia Veselnitskaya wanted to give to Republican Trump's campaign at the 2016 meeting in New York had been dug up by Fusion GPS in an unrelated investigation. So who are these sources? Well, the people most likely to know would be Fusion GPS and the Russians. Okay, so it was a setup. They created a fake dossier, and then they thought Donald Trump Jr. was going to be dumb enough to take the bait on information that was provided to him from a source that was made up. Apparently, there's a little bit more intelligence with the Trumps than those on the left seem to think. Here's another article from The Hill confirming the same bit of information I just gave you. Russian lawyer who met with Trump Jr. offered him info from firm behind the Trump dossier report. The Russian lawyer who met with Donald Trump Jr. during the 2016 campaign while promising damaging information on Hillary Clinton offered President Trump's eldest son opposition research created by Fusion GPS, the firm behind the unverified Trump-Russian dossier, according to Reuters. Natalia Veselnitskaya's negative information related to Hillary Clinton and Clinton Foundation donors was reportedly created by Fusion GPS. The White House has repeatedly attacked Fusion GPS for its role in the dossier's explosive allegations about Trump's ties to Russia. So it looks like somebody's got some splaining to do. So they created a fake dossier, and then they said, we'll take information from this fake dossier, and we're going to take this to the son of the man that we're accusing, thinking that the son is not going to know that this is not fake. He'll take the bait. Well, as we know, he didn't take the bait, walked away from that meeting, and the rest is history, as we are finding out. Now, we're not going to find out on CNN. You're not going to find it on MSNBC. And you can barely find out on Fox News, except if you're listening to a couple select journalists over there. For the most part, the media kind of keeps things quiet. You know, you understand the whole story. Council on Foreign Relations, Project Mockingbird, the CIA being heavily involved with the media, fake news, yada, yada, yada. Okay? That's why we don't hear. That's why we don't hear, and that is why alternative media is becoming more popular, because people don't trust the mainstream news to give them information of what's really going on in the world. Now, here's another case that's going on. If this is true and has reality to it, then this man should deal with the consequences of that. However, there are also hit pieces, and people shouldn't be falsely accused. Here's one that says, breaking Washington Post reporter behind Roy Moore hit piece has a history of writing fake checks. Washington Post reporter Stephanie McCrumman, who wrote this hit piece on Judge Roy Moore, has a history of writing fake checks, according to a 2011 report reviewed by Got News. According to left-leaning New York magazine, McCrumman has an extensive criminal record, committing 4 infractions in 3 different states. The original 2011 report details how McCrumman's criminal career began with her writing a fake check in North Carolina. Ms. McCrumman's criminal history began with North Carolina case 1992, a violation of Article 19, false pretenses and cheats section of the North Carolina Criminal Code. Ms. McCrumman was convicted of a crime punishable up to 6 months of imprisonment for writing a hot check that was deemed worthless. Is it possible that a journalist with a history of writing fake checks could also write fake news? You won't hear this stuff from the lying mainstream media. McCrumman's other 3 crimes are less serious: traffic-related offenses, 2 speeding, 1 going 46 miles an hour, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so the point being, here we have a situation that was reported to the media about Roy Moore. Why they reported to the media, not to the police, I don't know. I guess that's the way things are done in 2017. You go right to the media with your scoops because, well, that seems to be the best way to smear somebody. Again, if Roy Moore did the things that he's being alleged doing, then he should be punished for that. If he didn't do it and is being falsely accused, and the person falsely accusing him, well, she should be punished for that, because that is not right to falsely accuse somebody of something they didn't do. It muddies the waters when you're trying to then get somebody who really did something bad. Okay, so we need to be able to tell the difference. We can't, just because someone says you've done that, take them at face value. There's been a number of cases we've heard about in Hollywood where there have been women who have come forward, said men have done things to them, only to find out later that it was a lie. We're seeing a number of instances across America where there's racial crimes being committed, only to find out later that it was a person that was doing that was of the race that was claiming to be abused, and they were actually doing it themselves, trying to frame others. Okay, there's a trend we have. Human beings are becoming the lowest common denominator of good and actually moving into the place of being evil by simply following the examples of the other evil ones before them. It's only when we decide to stop being evil that we actually start being good. And that's the important thing that we need to focus on. Here's a story. Podesta Group CEO quits to start her own firm. Kimberly Fritz, the longtime CEO of the Podesta Group, is leaving the firm to start her own lobbying shop, according to 3 Podesta Group staffers. Tony Podesta, the firm's founder, tapped Fritz as his successor when he announced that he stepped down as the chairman last week, hours after an indictment was unsealed charging Paul Manafort and his deputy Rick Gates with violating foreign lobbying law. The indictment accused Manafort of hiring the Podesta Group to lobby for an ostensibly independent nonprofit that was under the ultimate direction of the Ukrainian president, his party, and the Ukrainian government. Fritz has also been expected to relaunch the Podesta Group under a new name in the days after Podesta stepped down, but after more than a week of working to hammer out the details of what the new firm would look like, Fritz announced at a staff meeting late this afternoon that she would resign and start a new firm, exasperating questions about the future of the Podesta Group and its dozens of employees. One Podesta Group staffer described Fritz's decision as the next step in rebuilding the firm without Tony Podesta. Tony Podesta's name has become a scarlet letter, the staffer said, speaking on condition of anonymity. I expect a lot of top talent will go with her, the staffer added. Now, we know that Tony Podesta is being caught up in all of this uranium one scandal, rightly so. But the bigger thing about Tony Podesta and his brother John is they are pedophiles. If you look at Madeleine McCann, I believe it was, the girl who was abducted and then disappeared, there's pictures out there of 2 people who are accused, allegedly, of doing this activity, and strangely enough, the drawings made of the 2 suspects look suspiciously like Tony and John Podesta. So hopefully these 2 men will be brought to justice soon, because these are some bad people. The Podesta's company is just trying to distance themselves from this, but how many of them in that company knew what was going on with the brothers? How many of others in those company are also involved in some of that despicable activity? Make no, I'm not mincing any words here. Make no mistake, Tony Podesta and John Podesta are both pedophiles, both caught up in the whole Pizzagate or Pedogate, very highly involved with many dark practices by politicians and celebrities in Hollywood and others out in the world. So these people can't be let off the hook. They're dark, swamp-dwelling creatures who are rising to the surface. And when they rise to the surface, well, that's when we can cut their heads off. Metaphorically speaking, of course. Metaphorically speaking. Okay, here's a story that deals with Mueller. In a stunning interview on the Alex Jones show, famed FBI whistleblower Sibel Edmonds completely destroyed special counsel Robert Mueller, laying out a series of facts to paint Mueller as a deep state operative who in the past has actively covered up Islamic terror networks and is now conducting sort of new McCarthyism in a sham investigation into supposed ties between Trump and Russia. Edmonds noted her background dealing with Mueller, and it's not pretty. Not only did he help suppress the evidence in her case, but he also issued a gag order to silence the truth. Imagine my shock when I saw that Robert Mueller was appointed as the special counsel in this case, the same Robert Mueller who in my case put gag orders together with Attorney General Ashcroft, Edmonds noted. There were FBI agents not only in the Washington field office but also in Chicago and Patterson field office who were blowing the whistle on Mueller internally, saying he squashes our investigation into terror networks. Esmond then goes on to discuss her shock that Mueller would be brought on as an impartial prosecutor in the Trump-Russia probe when he himself has a history of corruption, not to mention his close friendship with Comey and the deep state in general. I was the one who stepped aside, outside of the FBI, went to Congress, went to IG. It was a game. The same Mueller who invoked the state secrets privilege placed gag orders to protect this terrorist network, Edmonds stunningly revealed. So imagine my shock when I see, lo and behold, it's Mueller investigating Trump, and he dug and could not find a single thing on General Flynn linking him in any way to any nefarious activities with the Russians, so we expanded the sham investigation. Okay, so a sham investigation, we know that it's based upon the Russian dossier, which is fake, which information from that dossier is being utilized to form this special counsel, which is investigating Trump, President Trump, and the information from here was also part of what was going to be passed on to Donald Trump Jr., hoping to fool him. So that's where we are in this whole thing. Fake, 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 and more fake, but that's what you get from the DNC. That's what you get from the left. That's what you get from people who aren't very, well, moral. All right, here is a class action lawsuit. George Webb Swigert and class action, whoever wants to sign up for this, versus John Podesta, Hillary for America, Kim Fritz, Podesta Group, Kim Fritz, Uranium One Holding Company, Glenn Simpson, Tom Perez, Chairman of the DNC Services Corp., Debbie Wasserman Schultz, Imran Iwan, Hina Alvi, Jamal Awan, Rao Abbas, Abbas Rana, Hasib Arana, Natalia Sova, Huma Abedin, Anthony Weiner, plaintiffs George Webb Swigert and 435 John and Jane Does, to be named later, collectively and individually on behalf of those similarly situated, hereby sue defendants Podesta Group, Arms Uranium Holding Company, Fusion GPS, Hillary for America, DNC Services Corporation, DBA Democratic National Committee, and Deborah Wasserman Schultz, collectively as defendants, and allege the following. This court has original jurisdiction over the claims asserted herein, individually on behalf of the class, pursuant to 28 U.S.C., as amended in February 2005 by the Class Action Fairness Act. Alternatively, the court's original jurisdiction under 28, subject matter improper because the amount in controversy in this class action exceeds $5 million, exclusive of interest and cost. Okay, so I'm going to leave this for you to read it. It's quite lengthy indeed, but this is important to see that something is going on. A definite something going on. Now, yesterday, I'm going to switch gears over to the visit in China. Yesterday, President Trump's granddaughter got up and sang this song in Mandarin. I have a video here. The link's going to be available so you could watch the whole song. But what I want you to see here is just this ending part, because this ending part here, and there's no sound, but just watch the way that she ends it. This is just classic, and when I see this, it's like right there. You see this? Let me backtrack right there. Okay, when I see this, I mean, I'm seeing Donald Trump smiling through this kid right here. You know, the thumbs up version, the smile on the face. Okay, so I just think that's awesome. You should watch this whole video. It's really wonderful. It's really wonderful the way that she went there, sang this song, did such a great, great job. And I'm sure that those in China, those watching, were very impressed by this. You know, this says a lot about President Trump and his commitment to excellence, that his granddaughter would receive such education that she could go over there and be able to perform in this manner before them. Okay, it shows the kind of care he has for America, the love he has for this country, to be able to put that kind of care in wanting to see those who are growing up in this country, you know, really are excelling, really have the best opportunities. And he wants this for all of us. This isn't just his family. He's working to make this good for all of us. It's unfortunate that the left continues to demonize him without understanding who and what he's about. But what do you expect? The left has been lied to for so long. The people who are watching CNN and MSNBC have no clue what's going on in the world because they're not even being given that information. So imagine if you went out into the world and you only got 50% of the information about what was going on, how could you make good decisions? You couldn't, because your information would be skewed. Just like all of those people that listened to the media that said Hillary had a 98% chance of winning. They got bad information. Based on that information, what did they do? Many of them decided not to go to the polls. So they based their decisions on faulty information. Somebody should be pointing their finger at the media's collusion and influence in this election, because had they not told people that Hillary had such a great chance and Donald had no chance, maybe more of the members would have gone out and voted, but they didn't. And so they've created their own vicious circle of lies that is continuing to hurt themselves, because they lie to each other so much that they don't even know that they're lying anymore. And so they defend their lies, and that's okay. If they want to keep doing that, then let them keep doing that. They'll just keep getting lost in the crowd more and more. Keep getting bypassed more and more. All right, for today I pulled up this Isaiah 54. I thought this was a very interesting passage. You could see it's 17 verses. Let me go through this here. It's called The Future Glory of Zion. Sing, barren women, you who never bore a child. Burst into song. Shout for joy, you who were never in labor. Because more are the children of the desolate woman than of her who has a husband, says the Lord. Enlarge the place of your tent. Stretch your tent curtains wide. Do not hold back. Lengthen your cords. Strengthen your stakes. For you will spread out to the right and to the left, and your descendants will dispossess nations and settle in their desolate cities. Do not be afraid. You will not be put to shame. Do not fear disgrace. You will not be humiliated. You will forget the shame of your youth. You will remember no more the reproach of your widowhood. For your Maker is your husband. The Lord Almighty is his name. The Holy One of Israel is your Redeemer. He is called the God of all of the earth. The Lord will call you back as if you were a wife deserted and distressed in spirit, a wife who was married young, only to be rejected, says your God. For a brief moment I abandoned you, but with deep compassion I will bring you back. In a surge of anger I hid my face from you for a moment, but with everlasting kindness I will have compassion on you, says the Lord, your Redeemer. To me this is like the days of Noah, when I swore that the waters of Noah would never again cover the earth. So now I have sworn not to be angry with you, never to rebuke you again. Though the mountains be shaken and the hills be removed, yet my unfailing love for you will never be shaken, nor my covenant of peace be removed, said the Lord, who has compassion on you. Afflicted city, lashed by storms and not comforted, I will rebuild you with stones of turquoise, your foundations with lapis lazuli, and I will make your battlements of rubies, your gates of sparkling jewels, and all your walls of precious stones. All of your children will be taught by the Lord, and great will be their peace. In righteousness you will be established. Tyranny will be far from you. You will have nothing to fear. Terror will be far removed. It will not come near you.
90 seconds.
If anyone does attack you, it will not be by my doing. Whoever attacks you will surrender to you. See, it is I who created the blacksmith, who fans the coals into flame and forges a weapon fit for its work. And it is I who have created the destroyer to wreak havoc. No weapon forged against you will prevail, and you will refute every tongue that accuses you. This is the heritage of the servants of the Lord, and this is their vindication from me, declares the Lord. Well, this is quite a powerful statement. In there you do see that there is this great compassion that God has from humanity. And in the point where it says, I have compassion for you, I hid my face for a moment. In this passage here, it is even suggesting that God looked down upon humankind and was ashamed by what was going on. But then after that moment, God came back. God didn't abandon. God turned back and said, I have compassion because I see the problems that are there. Maybe this kind of ties into what I read yesterday, where Jesus was telling people that he is from God, but we are of the devil. The people are of the devil. Maybe this ties into there, that there's something more going on to the story.
10 seconds.
Something for us to dig into and explore. Passages available, firstcontactradio.com. Till then, I will see you tomorrow. Until then, I love you. Keep loving each other. Talk to you soon. Peace. Actually, I'll be back on Monday. Tomorrow's the weekend. Have a great weekend. Talk to you soon.